Hello, everyone. My name is Sonia Siddiqui, and I'd like to thank everyone for joining us for our last webinar of July. And I'm very pleased to introduce to you Pascal and Veronica from BDC, all the way from Montreal. Hi,
Hi,
ladies.
everybody. Hi.
We're really excited and looking forward to see what these ladies have to say. And I'm sure that you have tons of questions about your elevator pitch, and these ladies are here to answer. And I'm going to hand it over to Pascal and Veronica now.
Thank you very much, Sonia. Hi, everybody. We are here today. It's a pleasure for us to be here and give you tips and tricks on how giving a good impression in front of a recruiter. And also, we're going to talk about your elevator pitch. So, if we move ahead and go to the next slide. There's a quick presentation of myself. So I'm a professional talent acquisition here at BDC. I've been doing recruitment for 7 years now already. I've been at BDC for almost 4 years. And for the past 4 years, I've been recruiting commercial account managers for BDC. I have a bachelor degree in business administration. I present you to my colleague, Veronique.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Veronique. I'm currently a summer student employee at BDC. So I'm doing my bachelor in human resources at UQAM. So I've been here for the summer and I have 1 year left to my bachelor degree.
So we thought it would be a great idea for Veronique to join me in this webinar and have a first good impression of how to make a presentation. Because when you're a student, it's great to get experience of real life experience, real life work experience. Sorry. So next slide, we'll go quickly through the agenda. First, I'll do an intro about BDC. Second, I will talk to you about the elevator pitch. Third, we will talk about how to approach a recruiter in an event or on LinkedIn. And fourth, things to do before, tips and tricks on things to do before and after an in-person interview. And then we'll have a question period. So first, BDC. So we are, yes, you can move ahead. Yes, exactly. Even next slide, Sonia. Thank you very much. So BDC is the Bank of the Entrepreneurs. We are actually the only bank devoted exclusively to entrepreneurs. We know the market and understand the needs of entrepreneurs. Also, we are there at every stage of their business journey. On the next slide, you see all the business centers that we have here at BDC, the dark blue dot, and also a portrait of the BDC client. We are where entrepreneurs need us to be. In the portfolio, we have more than 49,000 entrepreneurs. We are present in 118 BDC business centers across Canada and more than 2,200 BDC employees across Canada, across the country. So the slide here gives you a really great idea of the reach of BDC. On the next slide, I can tell you a bit of what makes the success. So we support the entrepreneurs in all industry across Canada with financing, capital, and also advisory services. We do this by complementing the role played by private sector financial institutions. BDC is a profitable operation at no cost at the Canadian taxpayer and as a sole shareholder of the Government of Canada. On the next slide, so as I mentioned before, you can see that we are more than 202,000, so 203,017 employees. 52% of us are bilingual employees, so we spoke both French and English, sorry. And what's really, really interesting, and a fun fact actually, is that our employee speaks more than 36 different languages across Canada to make sure that we can attract to converse to everybody. We have been recognized as one of Canada's top 100 employees for 2017, more than 10 years with that recognition. It's a really great recognition. One of Montreal's top employers also for 2017, and one of Canada's top employer over 40 years old for 2017. Let's jump right in with the elevator pitch. So the elevator pitch is actually, and I did a little parallel with the entrepreneurs, because every entrepreneur should be able to summarize their business. So as a business owner, you should be able to present yourself and describe what you do in a short period of time. It's the same thing for job seekers. So as a job seeker, you should prepare a short elevator pitch to be able to pitch yourself in front of recruiters or even employers. That should be a short description of who you are and also what you're able to do, the highlight of your personality and also competencies. So when you can use it, in which context, it's really important. You can use it whenever you want to get someone's attention. So by example, when you are in a networking event and you meet a recruiter that works for a business, example BDC, we are together in a networking event, and you want to make sure that I remember who you are and what you do. So you can come up to me and just present your elevator pitch. I wanted to prepare one to explain exactly what it was and make your elevator pitch, but unfortunately I haven't had time to go that far. But let's go about the tips and tricks. So it should be quick, maximum 60 seconds, and it should be short enough to deliver during an elevator ride. That's why it's called an elevator pitch. Next slide. I have a couple of tips for you. Think big, but keep it simple, clear, and concise. You only need a few sentences to introduce yourself. Also, stand out of the crowd. You only need stand out of the crowd. Yeah, sorry. Put yourself in the listener's shoes. So make sure that they listen to you. To not waste their time. Sorry. Adapt your speech depending on who you're talking to and which context. Adapt what you're saying. Be ready to answer tough questions. Know your weaknesses and be ready to find objections. Also, the next subject, I hope that went okay, and we did cover everything on the elevator pitch. If you guys have questions, we'll come back to it at the question period. So the third subject today was how to approach a recruiter in an event or on LinkedIn. There's multiple ways to approach a recruiter in an event. We are really used to being solicited on LinkedIn. We are used to be solicited at events when we are at a networking event. It's fun for us that people come up to us. It's just like an interview. So when you're approaching a recruiter in an event, you need preparation. Be sure you understand the context of the event. Is it a networking event? Is it a speed jobbing? Is it a job fair? Is it when actually is the context of the event? Be sure not to monopolize the recruiter. That's something that often happens. So be aware of the other person in the room. When you're in an event, there's often more than 100 people there. Everybody wants a chance to speak to the recruiter, so just be aware, and that's where the elevator pitch comes handy. prepare for a few questions to ask the recruiter. Just ask them about the business, about the position, about the company, what they're doing. Be interested in what they do, and also be attentive to the nonverbal cues. So often when I'm in an event, I find myself uncomfortable because someone is not necessarily aware of that we've been talking for, let's say, 15 minutes, but I want to talk to other people. So I'll try to make a quick eye contact and just excuse myself and go to the next person. It's not to be rude, it's just because I want to share my time with everybody. Also, avoid crossing your arm and not looking to the interviewer in the eyes. Be confident and smile. In an event, don't forget to bring your business card. No CV. CVs are usually CVs are long, so if you can prepare just business card and make sure that's your card of visit with you, that would be perfect. And also prepare your elevator pitch. On LinkedIn, I often get contacted by candidates, and I always love reading you guys. When to contact or not to contact a recruiter. So you can send a message to show your interest. That's a good thing. But don't if it says apply online, please just you need to understand that we can receive all the CVs through LinkedIn. So I would suggest just send a quick message to the recruiter. I applied online on that position. I have a lot of interest and I think I could be a good fit for the company. Also, it would be nice to meet you. But just a quick short note. Write something different. Usually I receive all the same kind of message. So think outside the box and try to be catchy. If you can write your elevator pitch in a short email, that would be awesome. And also look for mutual interest or connection. So if you see that you have a connection with a recruiter, you could see, oh, maybe someone can introduce you to that recruiter. That would be even better. Also be concise and professional. What not to do? Yeah, that's one thing that I often get asked. Ask the recruiter to find you a job. We do not do career management. We hire people. So when you apply, when you approach a recruiter, you need to know where you're going, and you want to be professional, concise, and also like you look like you did your research. So do not ask recruiter to help you find a job. Just say, I saw that job. Maybe I think I would be a great fit. That's awesome.
So on the next slide, I will talk to you about things to do before and after an in-person interview. So first of all, if you go on the next slide, I'll give you some quick tips. So first of all, it's a good idea to know the company you're applying for. So you must know what the company is to know why you want to work there. And also, it works in the other way around. So if you think that, well, if you know why you want to work there, then you can also say why you would be a great fit in this company. So it's a win-win if you know the company. And also, sometimes we are asked, what is the company, which causes a weird situation. It's better if you know who you're applying for, since you want to work there, so you have to know what they do and how you could work in their company, so how you could bring something good in their company. So also, the next tip I can give you is read the job description. So as Pascal said, don't try to we can find you a job for you, but you can find a job for yourself. So if you apply on a position without knowing what it is, it feels like you're not really interested in the job. So we have situations sometimes that we call a person serial appliers. So they apply on multiple position without really knowing what it is and how they can how they could fit in this position. So make sure you apply on a few positions, but that you could fit in that position so that your experience is good with that position. And also, please don't ask what is the job description because you're supposed to know what it is since you applied on it. So what I recommend to you actually is take a screenshot of the job description so you can always go back and look at it to make sure you have everything you need for that position.
And there's one thing really interesting about the serial applicant, sorry. So often I think that candidates don't realize that we see on how many positions you have applied within BDC or within as an employer. So by example, if someone apply on 20 positions in the last 5 days, I can see all of them. So I understand that you're only looking for a job, not really looking for something you'd be good in or that you have the competencies. Unfortunately, that doesn't really resonate with what we are looking for. So keep that in mind. It's really important to send your candidacy on position where you think you would be a great fit for the organization, but also for the position.
Exactly. So third of all, know your CV. So our resume is about your work experience. So you must know what you have done in the past. You must know the task you were doing before in your last job. So you should be also able to explain them. So how did your work experience brought you here? How can it help you with this new position you're applying for? So that's for the know your CV. And the last one is prepare your interview. So that I think is the most important part. So preparation is key for success. So think of examples for your accomplishments. So if you have your resume, try to go all over it, and for each task you are doing or for each position you had, try to think of examples you can give that relate to the position you are applying to at the moment. And also, sometimes interviewers ask for your weakness and your strengths. So that's a good question for you to know. So try to have example of each of them. So one weakness and one strength, and how it happens. So how you will deal with it. And for your weakness, how are you working on it? So how can you make it not bad, but you can improve it. Exactly. Thanks. So also you can make it, well, when you know yourself, it makes it more credible. So you know yourself and you know your worth. So you know how you can bring good in this position. So how it relates to you. So example, if you have punctuality as a weakness, so how do you work on your punctuality? So how do you make it work even if it's not your strength?
And keep in mind, everybody has weaknesses. Nobody's perfect, and it's completely normal to have things you need to improve on. Just make sure that you have solution about improving yourself and being a better employee. Don't try to be perfect, and don't try to pursue the recruiter that you are perfect, because nobody is. It's completely normal.
Yeah. So on the next slide. So yeah, thank you. So this slide is not really part of the things before and after. So it's during the interview, but I thought it would be great for you to have it, just a guideline that can be useful for you guys. So I just put it there so you can have it. So I'll just go quickly through it. So those are basically mistakes you want to avoid in an in-person interview. So example, speaking of your past employers in a negative way. You don't want to say, he was really a bully and I didn't like it at all. So always think of a positive way. So if you say something bad about your employer in the past, well, it gives the impression that you are always negative. So it's not quite good for the employer actual that you're applying for. Also, being overconfident. So like an interview is not a selling pitch. So you want to sell yourself, but don't oversell. Don't try to push it too hard. So you want to be yourself. So if you're overconfident, it just gives a weird impression. So so yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say.
Also, there's a great one at the top, not adding any example to back up what you're saying. So by example, if in interview somebody asks you to give you example, you need to be take your time, just take a moment to reflect, prepare your answer in your head, and ask the recruiter, oh, can you give me a second to make sure that I understand correctly, and prepare your answer. You just don't want to say, oh, I'm really good at selling, let's just say I'm really good at achieving sales target, but you've never done sales. That's awful. And also, there's another mistake we see often in interview, not answering some questions. If you just skip the question, don't hesitate, just like I said, to take a moment to reflect. Take your time. It's completely normal to be nervous in interview. Don't hesitate to ask time to make sure you answer correctly, or that to repeat. Just ask them to repeat the question, so you'll get some free time just right there.
All right, so that's for the in-person interview, during the in-person interview. So on to the next slide, we can talk about what to do after the in-person interview. So that's pretty quick, since there's not much to do because you've done what you had to do at the moment. So what you can do is show your interest. So if you're really interested and the interview went well, you can always, after like a few days after the interview, you can always send an email to the recruiter to say thank you, I had a great time. I'm
was
really
nice
interested.
meeting you.
Yes, exactly. So so you can do it, but it's not an obligation. It's really if you feel like it. If you feel like you had a great experience.
For sure, it sends a great message to the recruiter and the hiring leader who met you in the interview, and it's really thoughtful of you to send in a quick note.
And also, not the day after, but maybe like a week or so, you can always ask where we are at in the process. So, show you're still interested even a few days.
Even a few days later. Of course, while you are in interview, the recruiter will tell you. So you will probably be notified in the next 2 weeks. If they give you a timeline, just respect the timeline the recruiter gave you, because you may seem a bit impatient if you push it too fast.
Exactly. So on to the next slide for the concluding part of this webinar. So can you just go to the next slide, please, Sonia? Thank you. So preparation is key, as I said before. So you are never too prepared for an interview. So you can always think of what you can say. So think about questions you might be asked and how you can answer them. So really know your CV, try to know everything, not too by heart, because you still want to not be like a robot speaking in an interview. So just try to think of what you could say to prove that you are made for this position. So how this position is made for you. Also, just be yourself. So as I said before, don't try to oversell yourself or your CV. An interview is a discussion, so don't try to push it too hard. And finally, it has to be fun. It has to be fluent. So you want to be there because you like it. So just try to enjoy the experience of this interview. And finally, well, good luck for the next steps. We wish you the best.
And just be yourself. It's so important. Sonia, we're already at the question period, I think.
So, thank you, Pascal and Veronica. That was great. There was a lot of information, and you had a lot of topics all in one webinar. So I'm sure people
Yes,
have a variety of
yes.
different things. So it's great. Again, thank you everyone for joining us. We will be going to the question and answer period now.
Yes.
So I see people have already started typing in their questions, so we can get started.
And for the question,
All right, so people are asking, so I can just do the questions for you,
perfect.
Pascal
Thank you
and
very
Veronica.
much.
No problem. So Namrata wants to know, could you give some tips on how to explain the career gap in an interview? And that's a very commonly asked question that we get all the time.
I didn't understand, Sonia. Can you repeat? Sorry.
If there's a gap in the resume, how
Yeah.
do you explain that in an interview?
I would say just be honest and transparent with the gap. So, by example, if there's a gap because you stopped working to take care of the kids at home, it's fine and it's perfect and it was something you were doing. So explain that for those, let's say, 3 years period, you were home with the kids. It was the family decision, and that was the reason. Just explain if you were taking care of parents, somebody's sick. Just explain what was the gap.
Right. We're all humans. Everyone's got, different things that we have to worry about in life. So they understand.
Yes,
Thank you,
exactly.
Pascal. Cam has a question, wants to know, what do you do if you don't have the email of the recruiter? So for example, you went for a job interview and you don't have their email. How do you follow up with them?
Yeah, you can ask them a card if at the end of the interview, you can ask the recruiter a card, so you'll have their contact info. You can look through LinkedIn. Sometimes, personally, I have my email address on my LinkedIn profile.
Great.
You can call the receptionist of the business where you had an interview. Just call and explain that you want to send a quick note, a thank you note to the recruiter or to the hiring leader you met, and ask them if they can kindly share the email with you. If they don't want to share the email, you can ask them their email and just send a quick note to the receptionist, and she can transfer it to the hiring leader. Because sometimes hiring leader want to make sure that their contact info remain for the business purposes, and we understand that. But I'm sure you'll find a way. Sometimes
Thank you.
the
Thank
email
you.
address are even online.
Thank you. And can you give an example of a tough question? Like what could be something that, comes out of the blue for them?
In interview,
Yes.
what I think is a tough question is, like Veronique said, the weaknesses are really hard for people to answer. So that be prepared to talk about your weaknesses and what you need to improve as an employee. Salary is always a tough question to
Right.
answer. A recruiter will ask you what are your salary expectation, and we expect an honest answer because we know you probably have a family and a lifestyle to support, and you need a certain standard to be able to provide for your family. So when the recruiter asks you what are your salary expectation, we expect people to answer honestly. And we know it's pretty hard because you don't want to miss an opportunity because of your salary expectation. And what you can do in that aspect, you can say a range. So let's just say I'm hoping for 35,000 or $40,000 per year, but I'm open between 30 and 45. So that gives the range to the
Right.
recruiter.
Perfect. Thank you. Yes, you have to remember that you always have to say a range and not an exact number.
Yes, exactly. A range is better. And also, there's a lot of employers that offer a global compensation. So it's not only the salary that counts. There's also bonuses. There's
Mhm.
um, insurance and everything. And that counts when you have a family.
Thank you so much. Naif has a question, very interesting question. They want to know how can newcomers be an added value to BDC, knowing that, promoting and selling their services, knowing that they're new to the market and, they haven't really established a really big network of clients or, who are in the business. So does BDC accept such people who are just new immigrants without a network? And if you do, how do you support them?
Yes, we do. It is harder for you when you are a newcomer to be an account manager with no network and no knowledge of the industry you're working on. There's other positions you can look into. So you can make your way within BDC, learn to know the business, learn to know how we operate, and then you can switch to the operation side. So I think about there's a position called client relationship officer. That person is on a daily basis supports the team of account managers. So you don't need a network, you don't need to do business development, and you don't need to have to know the market really well, because what you do on a daily basis is you support the account manager. And then with a couple of months in, and when I say a couple of months, I mean 24 to 36 months you can move up to another position as an account manager role. So yes, we do, and we understand the difficulties of newcomers, and we want to promote that diversity within BDC, but we understand it's hard for you guys.
Thank you, Pascal. I hope that answers your question. So Samuel has a question, wants to know, is it professional to send a message to like a recruiter on LinkedIn that you're looking for opportunities to, showcase your skills? So can you just pop a question, even if there's no any job available at that time, but can they just introduce themselves?
Yes, and yes, it is professional. The only thing is, don't expect the recruiter to find a job for you. You can just say, "Hey, I'm a newcomer. Is my story? Is my quick elevator pitch?" But just don't expect for them to manage your career. That's up to you. But yes, I often receive emails from people, not only newcomers. I mean, I get about 20 emails a day. As a BDC here, I think I'm pretty popular though. Usually, recruiter receive 10 to 20 emails per week as within LinkedIn.
And that's very nice of you that you're very accepting and you're replying back to all these people, because I know how
Yes,
frustrating it can be when people are looking for work. So just to get a positive response from one recruiter out of 20, I'm sure it gives everybody, some hope to move on. And that's what you really need to know. Recruiters are very, very, very busy. So, if you don't hear back from them, don't let that get to you. Just keep on trying. If you reach out to
yes.
20 people, one person will respond back to you.
For sure it will. And the kind of message I don't answer back is people who write to me, can you find me a job? Or as a recruiter at BDC, I'm sure you can propose me a job within which in Toronto or within Ottawa or within Montreal. I won't propose you anything. But if you want to present yourself to me, that's
Right.
a completely other story. Those email I answer.
And I think that goes for everybody. If you
Yes,
just say, can you help me get a job? It's like, I don't know you. Who are you? You want to introduce yourself? So yeah, so
yes,
please, be mindful when you're reaching out to people, of course.
exactly, Sonia. Be mindful. I think that's the key.
Yes. So Faisal has a question, and I think the elevator pitch really is a very sensitive topic, because he's saying that if it's only 60 seconds, how am I supposed to support the claims that I'm making? So, for example, I'm a problem solver. So, how do I prove that I'm a problem solver? Should I be giving examples? So, how would be, I mean, it's not a set, maybe I can try answering that question too. Your elevator pitch is not this written transcript and you have to keep using it everywhere. It
Yes, yes,
changes.
yes, yes.
Wherever you go, whatever situation is in an interview, it'll be different. When you're networking with people, it's going to be different. It depends on every person that you're talking to. The whole
Exactly.
point is just trying to get that message across in a few seconds, well, in a minute, and without, you got to focus on the person that you're talking to. So if you're talking to a person and who's in the same industry, maybe you want to focus on things about the industry that you know and that you've done, you have experience in. If you're talking about a particular role, then you will focus on the role. So, I mean,
Exactly. That's
it's
a good
different
point.
for everything. Pascal, I'll let you add anything if you want to.
That was exactly, that was a really good point, Sonia, and it's true you need to focus on either competencies or either the industry. Because if you're talking to a professional in a network event that works in sales and that knows the market, you want to show that you know it too. So that's what resonates to the
It's
elevator.
just about how you can relate to that person. So it's just, and you'll only know that by practicing. So practice as much as you can. Go out there, different events. It's summer. You can take advantage of being outdoors, being outside, and different. There's lots of networking events and job fairs happening all over Toronto. It's all about just researching. Go on Google, see what's happening, and attend it. There's a lot of free events for sure that happen throughout Toronto, or Montreal and Ottawa. So Cam's got another question, wants to know what content should be included in business cards?
Business card, I would say that's a good question.
Hmm.
I would say name, industry you work in. If you don't have a job right now, you could say I'm a professional at achieving targets, meaning you work in sales, with your phone number, your email address. Maybe what could be interesting in the is the are you bilingual? So if you speak both French and English, you could write it on the little card. So
Right.
that would be top. That's what comes up to mind.
Your your LinkedIn, if you have a
Your
personal
LinkedIn,
website. I
yeah.
mean, portfolios are big these days, so people actually have their own website where you can take a tour about their professional lives, basically. So it's LinkedIn is like a snapshot as compared to their website. So there's so many things that you can look into. We're actually, I think, looking into doing a webinar sometime in September about how to build your online portfolio as well. So you guys will
Oh,
have to wait for that one. But until then, yeah, these are great tips to put on your card as well.
yes.
Carlos has a good question, and I feel like a lot of people have similar questions. But so Carlos has been in the telecom industry for quite some time and wants to know if he were to change into the not-for-profit organization, what would he showcase? How would he showcase his skills?
It's a good question, and it's a hard question actually. I don't know if you have.
Well, I mean, I guess we can take it into consideration. Like, for example, if someone has a lot of sales experience and they want to,
Yes.
maybe go into the admin side of things now, like what skills are transferable and how should they showcase those skills whenever you're making a change?
Yeah, but it's really it's some case by case. But you should first do an extensive research of what you do, and what the job description is required, and try to match what you currently do in your position to what the job description is required, and then try to find example of things that is relevant to the job description. I don't know if I understand the if I answered the question correctly, Sonia.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Thank
think
you.
so.
Thank
All
you.
right. And again, if you have any questions, you can always email us, and I can try my best to even find you links and show you how you can watch other webinars, or you can check out our online resources as well. Um, all right, so we've got another uh, question here, Omar. So, how to handle a situation when some role like really fits your interest, but you might be overqualified for it?
Yeah, and unfortunately, we see that often. And you just you have to keep on going, and don't get discouraged when you don't get a position, because when you apply on a position, and I often give that example to people. If I was to reapply at BDC for my position, I wouldn't. It's not because I have it today that if I apply today on this position, I will get it back again. So it's always like a case or with who else apply and who else has the competencies. We often see people who are overqualified and they do not move forward within the process because mostly employers are scared of them getting well just tired or not really interested in the job. So if you apply on a position where you are overqualified, just make sure that you will be um, stable and be able to keep on going and be happy with that position, even if it's not what, even if you know you can do even better or greater other things.
Thank you. So another question about the business cards again.
Yes.
When you mentioned when you mentioned, no, it's a great idea to carry business cards. A lot of times, you think you're not working. Why do I need to carry a business card? It is often more important than carrying a resume because a person that you're networking with is not going to um, carry your resume around. So a business card is something that they can look at after and they can say, oh,
Yes.
well, yeah, this guy sounded interesting. Let me give him a call or let me add him on LinkedIn.
Yes.
So sorry again, business card. They're saying, should we be putting our entire skill set on there? Because it might change according to, who you're talking to.
Yes, exactly. No, no skill set. Just quick info on who you are, and the skill set should be though on your LinkedIn profile. So make sure that your LinkedIn profile is well is complete, and I think that would be a better place for you to put your skill set either than on your business card.
Thank you. Another question, great, it's a little bit outside of interviews and everything, but Samuel wants to know what are the major contents that go on a cover letter?
Oh yeah, that's a good question also. So I would say a presentation of yourself, highlight of your competencies, highlight of your personalities, and why you think you're a great fit for the job.
All
That
right,
should
thank
be
you.
quick and
Nice and quick.
not too dense as of information. I like light cover letters, just that are easy to read.
Yes, and when we speak a cover letter, can you also tell our viewers how long is it supposed to be and how heavy it's supposed to be?
Yes, so a cover letter is supposed to stand on one page. It's a one pager, but not a full pager. So I like a couple of sentences. Let's say max 10 sentences, and it should be nicely written. So just put time and effort on the cover letter and choose the word wisely. That's the first impression the recruiter is gonna have when he's gonna look at your CV. I read all the cover letters, and if it's too dense or if there's too much information, I'm forgetting the essence of it.
Right, and do you prefer having bullet points on there as well?
You can do bullet points. It's yeah, bullet points or text.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So, and also going back to the business card again, they're asking if you should put your education in brackets next to your name,
It's
like
a
if
great
you've done,
idea. Yes,
okay,
yes. Higher degree can
higher
be
degree. So
yeah
if you have a
higher.
master's, PhD, something like that, then it's recommended to put on there.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Okay, so Sharjini has a question, wants to know when we're approaching someone for networking, should we reach out to only recruiters or is it preferable to connect directly with like the hiring managers or like people who are actually working in the company as well?
Well, recruiters, what's interesting is they are the first line when it comes to recruiting. So that's interesting. But often people reach out to the managers, and that's fine. Also, some manager doesn't really don't like to be contacted by candidates. Though recruiters, we are more comfortable getting people to come up to us. So it could be both, depending of the industry, I would say.
Thank you. Also, so I mean, this Shardini was wanting to know from a networking point of view. So this is not asking for a job. This is just trying to network. Shardini, I would actually say, I mean, when you're networking, network with everyone that you can,
For
regardless of
network,
the
yeah,
industry. Yeah. So for networking, even if they don't have the same job as you, and it's not the same industry, network with people, get to know people, because people know people, right? So, I mean, think about in your home country, how many people do you know? I mean, it's endless. Like, how many contacts do you have in your phone? So, when you come to Canada, there's other people who have a similar number of circle of people, or, contacts in their phone, contacts at work. So if you're in sales and you're meeting someone in IT, every company has an IT department. They probably have a sales department as well. So you want to be sure that you're networking with anyone and everyone, just getting to know people, getting them to know you as well. So it's never bad to don't be picky when it comes to networking.
yes, it's true. Network with
Thank you.
everybody. That's a great line. I like it.
Exactly. And you know what they say, your network is your net worth. So make it worthwhile.
Oh, ooh, we'll love it.
You can use that next time.
I will.
I've got another question. Wants to know about the LinkedIn profile. If I work for both, let's say teaching, and I'm sure I think you missed something there, Cam. All right. So if I guess Cam's working for two industries, should he be including all experiences? Yeah, whatever your
Yes,
job is, if you're
yes,
working for a different industry, I would say that write down all your experience and all your skills that you use in both jobs. Don't miss out on anything. I wouldn't say so at all.
yes,
Pascal, what are your views?
yes. Of course, put everything. I
All
would go
right.
with both.
Thank you. So that's all the time we have to answer questions right now, because I still need some time to go over a little bit more. But if you have, okay, there's a few more questions coming. Um, all right, so Good Manch has a question, wants to know, can we put our part-time job on LinkedIn as well?
Of course, it's a job. Even
Yeah.
I only have the word in French. I meant bénévolat.
Volunteer.
Yeah, volunteers. Even volunteers should be on
Oh,
LinkedIn.
yes, of course.
Yes.
Thanks, Pascal. Yeah, so even if you are volunteering, you have a part-time job, these are all places where you're using your skills and experience. So you really need to showcase your skills and experience regardless of where you're doing it. So either it's a part-time job or you're volunteering somewhere, you're using your skills. So you really need to make sure that you showcase them on LinkedIn, because how else will you show those skills if you don't have full-time experience, correct? Yeah, so I think that's it. That was our last question. I know there's a few more questions. I'm sorry we weren't able to go through all of them, but you're more than welcome to email us at onlineservices@accessemployment.ca, and we will try our best to get back to you as soon as possible. And Pascal, again, and Veronica, I want to thank you both for joining us and answering all these questions. I hope that everyone had an interesting experience with the webinar. Moving forward, I just want everybody to know that you can check out for more information about resume building, job seeking, interview skills, how to, even if you have a job and you just want to know, how to succeed in that new role, you can check out all our resources that we have online. So if you go to our website, you can click on e-access and it'll take you to our hub when we're trying to update more material on there for you to access as well. A lot of people were asking about bridging programs before coming to Canada. So we don't have bridging programs per se before coming to Canada, but we do have pre-arrival support in the sectors listed. So if you are in either engineering, finance, HR, IT, sales and marketing, or supply chain, and you will have your PR and you're on your way to Canada within the next few months, you would be eligible for to take the program. And you can email cec@accessemployment.ca. Please be aware that we do have a very high influx of people coming in, especially in the summertime. So please be patient as our team gets back to you. And again, thank you for your participation, everyone. You can, if you want to stay in touch with us, you can follow us on any of our social media platforms. We are very active and we are always promoting all our events that are in-house or online as well. So you can connect with us on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, or Facebook as well. And Pascal and Veronica, again, thank you very much for joining us. We hope to see you again. I know your team will be presenting again during the next few months, and we're looking forward to that.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. I hope you all have a great day or evening ahead, and a happy weekend to you all.